the way I define it when I teach is, at least from the tradition that I come from my own experience, is a fundamental shift in the locus of our identity. We thought we were this little someone, with all our foibles and all our memories and all our narratives and stories and beliefs and forms of suffering. And we wake up to realize that we are the vastness, the openness in which all of that's arising, right? And that fundamental shift is really what constitutes true spiritual awakening. And I practiced for many years, frankly. I practiced Zen for 10 years, very intensively. And I had no idea what spiritual awakening is. No one ever told me. So I actually got a few glimpses, but didn't realize that that's what they were. And no one was there to say, oh, that's kind of what we're talking about here. Maybe just keep going in that direction. But then I left Zen and experimented with several other traditions, and then stumbled upon Jean Klein, who was one of the teachers that I truly fell in love with. If I had a guru, he was certainly my guru. And after 6 months with Jean Klein, he said, don't make meditation a habit. If you meditate, the only purpose to meditation is to find out the meditator, discover the meditator. So 6 months into knowing Jean Klein, in the middle of a retreat, I had something I had to do. I had to leave the retreat. I was in my car, and suddenly something he had said went through my head, something he had said several times. He had said, the seeker is the thought. The looker is what he or she is looking for. Now, you can read these sayings, in many places, but being fresh to this path, never having heard of Ramana Maharshi or Nisargadatta Maharaj, just being with Jean Klein, this really struck me. And as I was driving, everything turned inside out. I suddenly realized I was the space, which was eternal. There was absolutely no going away from it. And I was driving through myself, right? That was the nature of the realization. And, it was a powerful recognition. It knocked my socks off, as they often do, not always, but often. And, it faded into the background, I would say. The ego and its habits reasserted itself, but I never lost that, and it continued to mature over time. And it was actually terrifying, the realization. I went through, I like to say this so people who have similar experiences feel like they're not alone. I was terrified by it. I felt like the ground had been pulled out from under my world, and there was no ground. And it scared the life out of me.
Yeah, in our last interview, we talked about Suzanne Segal a little bit, who wrote Collision with the Infinite, and she was a friend of yours, and she went through like 10 years of terror because she had such a shift and had no idea what it was, and she just assumed she couldn't find a sense of personal self anymore, and it freaked her out.
Exactly. The self was looking for the self.
Yeah.
The mind kept looking for itself and couldn't find it.
And in fact, it was Jean Klein who kind of resolved it for her.
By saying, stop the mechanism of the mind that keeps looking, basically. And she did, and that was the end of the fear. Yeah.
So one thing you made clear is that this was not just some intellectual realization or something. It was a deep, visceral, experiential shift.
I would say boundaryless openness is the way I like to describe it these days. But at the time, the vastness, it was just vast, non-locatable, and always present, always already present, never gone, always there, always awake, always present. Mm-hmm.